Hi everyone and welcome. I wanted to come on and talk to you a little bit about boundaries. So we've been talking a lot about energy inventory and why are you so exhausted and why do you not feel good and why are you depressed? And to take a look at the energy ins and the energy outs and how do we bring balance to those. So last video we talked about the energy ins and creating intentional opportunities, creating systems to be intentional about our time and resources to find more opportunities to find joy in our life and for connection and those things that light you up and bring you joy. And so today we're going to talk about the energy outs and how do we protect ourselves when it comes to those energy sucking activities or those energy sucking people, so that we don't end up negative balance in our energy stores, and we can kind of bring balance to that. So what are boundaries? Let me tell you, I've learned so much in the last probably year about what boundaries are. I honestly thought that I thought a boundary, the boundaries, like the extent of boundaries was not bringing your personal life into your work and your work into your personal life. But let me tell you, it's much more than that. The way that I see boundaries is kind of rules of engagement, or kind of, if you think like a picture of like a fence, and like this is my space and this is what I hold dear to me and my values, and there's gates where we can allow things in and we can shut them down. And so the gate is really what is the boundary, right? Because we protect things that we hold valuable. And so in order to keep them valuable, we have to kind of put up this fence, if you will. And so what are some examples of boundaries to protect things that we value? I have a great story of when I went to my first dental appointment. We established care here down in the metro, and I very much appreciated that the dentist met with me, and he very upfront set his boundary that if you're late for appointment you're 10 minutes late for an appointment, it's canceled and you're billed at the full rate. And at first I was kind of like, wow, that's like, well, what if I got stuck in traffic? I'm just kind of getting new to the area. And then he went on to explain why. Because his family time is very valuable to him, and by being 10 minutes late, you then push his schedule back and he is never late for dinner. And there's something about that I found very heartwarming. Like, wow, he really values his time with his family. And so I can respect that, and I'm going to make sure that I'm 10 minutes early just because of that. And so that's an example of a boundary. That dentist really values and treasures his time with his family, and so he puts kind of rules of engagement in place so that can happen. And so what I invite you to do today is to take a look at what kind of protection mechanisms can you put around those energy out activities. How can you manage that so that you aren't always losing energy, you're not always losing your time, your resources, and you can have more time to do those things that bring you joy. So whether that's taking a pause when you're asked to volunteer, you're asked to do something, instead of rushing to say yes, just take a minute. And maybe you say, you know what, I need to take a look at my calendar. Can I get back to you? The sheer system of a calendar can be incredibly useful. Planning your days and your weeks out of, okay, wow, I have to do this, and that is not something I have to do. It's not something I like to do, but I have to do it. So maybe we don't schedule any have to do activities on that day. Or, wow, I've got a really busy schedule that week. I don't necessarily know that I can provide or show up for you in this situation. Maybe you have a friend who is going through a really hard time, and maybe that is a great friendship, but sometimes when they're going through hard stuff, that's hard to be present to them, and you want to be able to be present to them, but maybe going out for lunch with them or going out to cocktails with them on a week that you've overextended yourself in your work calendar isn't a good use of your energy and your resources. So just like we're intentional about creating opportunities for joy and for energy in activities, let's be intentional about how we look at our energy out activities. And I will leave you with this. I've met some really great people in networking in the last several months, and I met with a therapist and we were talking about boundaries and how in a therapy world how they look at boundaries and how me as an energy practitioner looks at boundaries. And there's a lot of overlap, which has been a lot of fun to get to know and look at. But she said these words to me, which just made me stop in my tracks. If you cannot say no, your yes is meaningless. Those words really resonated with me, and it really made me take a step back and say, wow, if I say yes to everything and everyone, it's not worth much anymore, because I can't say no. And so I want to leave you with that. And then my last thing here is, I think a lot of times we put value of who we are on what we can do. I've shared my story about, what led me to this whole world of energy medicine was somebody asking me, do you value yourself by who you are or what you can do? And so I think sometimes we are constantly looking to do, because we don't value what we have here. And so I would just invite you to do some reflection on that and take a look at what you have boundaries around and what you value and what maybe you need to create boundaries around to be more authentic, to be more of yourself, to be more protected, so that when you are called on to show up, you can show up and be who you are and be fully present. So with that, I will close. Stay tuned. Boundaries aren't easy. So my next video will be talking about how you can create some language around boundaries, which now we're coming up to the holidays, and of course everyone's going to feel pulled and tugged in different directions. So what are some words and some languages and some phrases that you can use to protect those precious energy resources? So I hope this all finds you well and enjoying this beautiful sunny fall day, and take care, everyone.